Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 Dollar Tree beach DIYs for you. I have a little bit of everything in today's video. If you like to decorate coastal or just for summer with the beach theme, these DIYs are so fun.
I'm gonna dupe this. I found this Whales on Wood art print online, and I thought we could do something very similar. So what I did is I got all these like watercolor whale images to try to recreate it. I really like the watercolor look of the whales. And down below, I will include a link to all of these whale files for you so you can recreate this project. But basically all I did was print them out like on a regular printer, just on cardstock. I get cardstock at Target or wherever I can get it. It's pretty inexpensive. And you can see how stiff it is. It's going to make kind of a durable object that we can Mod Podge on. This whale kind of has a mouth to cut out. And I'm just going in and cutting all of those out. I think I found a good variety. I will include the whales like individually and all together. If you have any trouble downloading the files, let me know and I will try to upload them on our Facebook group. Okay, now for the sign part. You guys know I love crafting with these wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. And this one, and we're going to use 5 of them. I love them because they're nice and thick. They're cute wood, but you can also paint them. I like the idea of being able to tie different signs together. It's really going to give it a coastal feel. So first up, we're just going to remove all these from the packages and cut off all of the hangers. That is a good twine, and they do have little wire rings on there that you might want to save for future DIYs. But this is going to be a really cute, kind of large whale wall hanging that I still have in my hallway. I absolutely love it. It turned out fantastic. So a total of 5 signs. We're going to have 4 whales and 5 signs. So I'm going to kind of like overlap them in between the different signs, but I want to paint it. I want it to have an ivory background, so I'm going to go over the whole thing with ivory acrylic because the original piece that I'm trying to dupe was also and it had a white background, so I'm kind of going for that same kind of look, but using supplies from the Dollar Tree. The original whale sign that I'm trying to dupe was from Kirkland's, and it was $60, so I think we can do it. Now I just go over it with a couple coats of ivory. I really want like a sharp contrast with the whales we're going to add to this piece. And I really want that to be bright and ivory on the back. I find it easier to kind of paint these before I attach them together. Now, another thing I'm going to do before I attach them together is add our whales. As you can see, I alternated. I have 2 going right and 2 going left, and so you can kind of alternate them as well. Now, while I have my signs like touching, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and attach my whales because like I said, I have 5 boards and 4 whales, so we're going to be cutting these guys. I do a thick layer of Mod Podge down and then lay my little cardstock whale right on top, kind of making sure that I have it centered because I'm going to use that for reference like as I am moving down the sign. And that looks better. And then I'm going to go over the top of the cardstock with Mod Podge as well. As you can see, it holds up really well to the Mod Podge because it's such a thick paper, but I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge it again just to make sure that it is secure. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing, moving down the sign with our other whales, Mod Podging them like right over like the seam in between the 2 boards. And you know, some of these are taller than others, but I think it's all gonna fit here nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my final 2 with Mod Podge and lay those on there as well. And then we can kind of Mod Podge over the top of all of those. You're just going to want to make sure that you have them centered and pressed down well. You don't want any bubbling. Sometimes I like to go over mine with a baby wipe like that to kind of push it down, and then Mod Podge over the top. I give it a quick dry with my heat gun and then Mod Podge it one more time. So basically I Mod Podge all of them, one time under, 2 times on top. Now I kind of want it to look, you know, coastal farmhouse distressed. So while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and distress. I use ivory acrylic and a chunky brush, and I'm going to distress all over our little whales to kind of make them look a little bit more hand painted, like part of the sign, less like paper that we glued to it. I find that really helps. And I'm just distressing and then going over the top of that with a baby wipe, trying to wipe off the excess. And then just for good measure, and because I'm cutting these, I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge a 3rd time on top to make sure they're good and sealed. Now that they're dry, I'm going to go in with a Dollar Tree razor blade and try to cut these apart. Now you still have to be kind of careful because as you can see, my paper was tearing a little bit there. So be really careful. Make sure you have a sharp blade. Once I have my first sign cut off, I can kind of use my sanding block and clean up any paper that ripped. And that also kind of gives it a slightly distressed look along the edges. So I think that's going to be fine. Now we're going to go ahead and do that again here on the next sign, making sure that my paper stays put. You're going to want to make sure that you cut like in the line. It can be a little hard to see there. And as you can see, I kind of cut him wrong, but that's okay. We'll just fix it with a little bit of a Mod Podge. No big deal. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand that as well like I did before. And we'll have our like individual little boards. This one's a little easier. I'm just going to cut off his like tip of his front of his head and his tail and do the same thing here with the last sign. And I kind of like the fact that they're on separate boards. What we're going to do is hang these together. So there is going to be a little space in between each board. It gives it kind of a fun look. So we just sanded those. Now I'm going to use one of the original hangers. It has that really nice twine, and we can start putting this together. I string from the back and then tie a knot in the front. And then I'm going to go over the other side and kind of do the same, stringing it in from the back and tying it on the front. The reason I'm doing that is just to fill the holes on the bottom sign, because I'm going to have knots in each of the other ones. So I string it through that sign, tie a knot in the front, and now this is how we're going to connect it together. I'm going to string it through. If you have trouble getting your string to come through, you're probably going to want to add a little bit of hot glue to the end. It does make it easier to string through. But we're going to do the same thing here on the other side, stringing from the back and tying a knot in the front. So that's going to hang them together. There's a slight, it's not real big space in between, but you'll see when it is hanging that you can definitely tell they are like little individual signs all hanging together. And the reason I did it like that was, one reason is to fill the holes, but I kind of like the slatted look to the sign. I think it looks really coastal and beachy. So we're going to keep working our way up the sign we've got plenty of that rope because we had one for each one of those signs. So just keep feeding those in and tying them together. Here is the 5th and final little whale sign that we need to attach. Now we will do something different on that one because we will need a hanger. Like on the bottom, we kind of just did dummy knots down there, but this one we will actually just use it to make a hanger. So they're all attached together. Now I'm going to take apart another one of those hangers, but just take one of the strings off. That way I can use the ring to hang it. I think that will work great. I feed that in through the back. The sign is so big, it's kind of hard to keep it all in my shot. Tie it in the front, Try to kind of figure out where my center is. That's where I'm going to want my ring to be. And feed it in here from the other side and tie it off as well. And we have a little whale sign. I think it turned out so cute. You know me, I'm going to distress it one more time with a little bit of ivory just to break up some of the paper. And I felt like I had kind of wiped off a little bit too much of the distress earlier. So once I get it to a place that makes my eyes happy, we can dry this and it is going to be ready to hang on the wall.
Now you might have to do this on the wider wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. I haven't been able to find these skinny ones there lately, but really any kind of a wood sign you can do this. I kind of like the fact that they are cut in between different boards, and this is just a really fun piece. I've used this in my hallway for coastal decor, and it is just so pretty. I really love this one.
I want to turn this little wood sign from the Dollar Tree into a really beautiful decorative palm tree. So I kind of want that palm tree trunk shape where, you know, it's like wider at the bottom and it slightly goes up towards the top, giving that cool palm tree shape. And so I thought I could maybe get that with some of these popsicle craft sticks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hot glue this on. And I just make sure that the bottom part is hanging completely off the sign, like that, with the top part secured to the sign. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. And I just kind of want to build out the bottom of this. And I wanted something strong for this so that it would give it the same structure that the wood sign is giving it. So popsicle sticks worked out perfectly. Now on this one, I'm just going to glue it side to side with the first one. So this one is kind of completely hanging out over the edges. So I will have to go back and reinforce that a little bit, but I just do a bead of hot glue along the edge and stick it next to the first one. Now I want to continue that slow, gradual bend of the outside of the tree. So I also do a popsicle on each side of the top, kind of continuing the same line from the outside. Now, I think that looks pretty good. I think that's going to work. And I couldn't really find anything that was like shaped like this already, so I just kind of had to make it myself. Now, to reinforce the back, I just cut a popsicle stick in half and hot glue that onto the back to make that a little bit stronger. And we're going to wrap all this in burlap, so you won't be able to see any of that. It's just going to provide a structure. Now, this is the burlap that I'm going to use. This is the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I love this stuff. If you're not lucky enough to find this, you can always use the rolled burlap from Dollar Tree as well. I kind of wanted the wraparound look for mine, so it would kind of have lines and graduations on it. I think that kind of looks like a palm tree, so I just start by hot gluing it to the back and wrapping it around. Now, with the shape being kind of unique, it didn't want to wrap super tight, so I'm just kind of getting it the best I can, and then I'll go back and kind of glue my different layers of burlap together to make it look not so loose. So basically, I want to cover the sign and any of the popsicle sticks that you could see. I cut it, glue it to the back, and also kind of glue it shut along the bottom. And then I'm going to go back and just trim the bottom just to kind of make it look straighter here at the bottom and not kind of a hot mess there. Now, again, the layers were a little bit loose, so I want to glue them. I'm just going to use some tacky glue from Dollar Tree. I thought this would work better than hot glue because the hot glue, you can kind of see it through, burlap sometimes when you use it. So I just do a bead of tacky glue underneath each burlap seam and glue that to the piece before it, and that just kind of made it look a little bit better. Now, I saw a palm tree online that kind of inspired me to make this. I kind of wanted to do my own version of this. And a lot of the ones that I've seen had a lot of shells on the trunk of the tree, but I kind of like the simplicity of just the burlap on the trunk of the tree. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now, for the palm fronds, I wanted something that I could cut that's flexible, that, you know, is going to have a little bit of structure. So I thought one of these placemats from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. Now mine is green. It doesn't matter what color yours is because you're probably not going to be able to see it. So I just start out by cutting it in half. I wanted this circular shape because I thought I could get nice like arching leaves coming down the sides of the palm tree. So I just cut 3 rows out from that because I don't want it to be super wide. And I do that for both sides. What I want to do is have like enough structure to do like 4 leaves for the palm tree, like, you know, 2 on each side. So then I cut each one of those in half and it leaves me with these 4 pieces. You know, with it being green like that, it kind of already looks like a palm tree, right? But we're going to take this to a whole another level. Don't worry. So I like it, but I kind of wanted the like ends of the palm fronds to be a little bit more pointed. And so instead of 3, I'm going to kind of make it like 1 row at the tip. So I just kind of cut that gradually up, making it skinnier. That way my palm frond that I'm going to make on there will have like a skinnier tip, like a palm frond would. So I just go ahead and do that on all 4 of these pieces. I think 4 is definitely enough because we're going to kind of build this out. We want plenty of room for our palm fronds that we're going to build on here. So I think that's going to work. Now to build the palm fronds, what am I going to use? I'm going to use a luau skirt. So this is the adult luau skirt from the Dollar Tree. It doesn't matter if you use the adult or the child one. It's just a great source of raffia from the Dollar Tree. And you can usually like take advantage of the fact that it's like tied to a string like that. The pieces are a little too long for what I need it to be. So the little knots on the end really don't do me any good here. But this first palm frond was kind of an experiment because I'd never made one before, so I didn't really know what I'm doing. But by the time I get to the second one, I was a pro with this. So I want like pieces of the grass skirt or raffia to be sticking out on the sides like that. On both sides, you know, kind of like a palm frond. Now, I was starting doing it, gluing it, cutting it like that. And I kind of wanted it to be more like leaning forward than that. Like, they're a little too straight, that first row, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it and kind of keep building from there. But I do want it to kind of be angled down a little bit because that's kind of how palm fronds hang. So the next piece, I just kind of overlap, kind of getting a more down direction on those. And I kind of do the same strategy where I'm just gluing a bundle at a time and trimming it down to size. Now, I was thinking there has to be an easier way to do this. What if I do both sides at once? So what I did is I cut like a bundle that's twice as long, and then I just glued it in the middle like that, and then kind of bending it down so that both sides are kind of like veering down like a palm frond. And I think that's going to work a lot better like that. Now, since I'd already started at the top, only doing one side, I do kind of have to go back and like fill in the area that didn't have anything just by cutting a bundle down to size and hot gluing that to the placemat. And you can already kind of see that like palm frond feel that we're going to get from this. This project turned out so beautiful. Haven't decided where I'm going to display it yet, but I love it. It is definitely a work of art. So I just finished all the way down and then my camera died, but all I did was trim off the little bit of fabric that I still had at the end. And it's got this nice palm frond shape. I'm going to go in and trim it down, kind of give it more of the shape of a palm frond. And then I don't want it to look like super perfect. I want it to kind of look jagged and like all of the palm fronds are like a little bit different lengths. So I do go back and kind of cut it separately, you know, just to make it look like separate lengths. I also secure some of them down a little bit just to make sure that I really don't want any of the green showing. So I just trim down a little bit more here at the end. And I think that one is ready to go. Now I do plan to put rope down the center, so you don't have to worry if you have like a lot of hot glue there in the middle, but I think I'll wait until I get all 4 of my palm fronds done before I add the rope. I think that would just be easier. So I told you I was a pro by this point, so I'm just cutting my bundles double length and then cutting multiple at once. So I had this huge pile of palm fronds and gluing them down. Now that might be a little bit too much to do at once because you do kind of want that angle. So I kind of split that in half and just do a bead of hot glue down the center of the palm frond. And I'm kind of bending them, as you can see, so they'll kind of fall down. But I'm definitely doing more at a time than I did before. And definitely doing both sides at the same time is the way to do it, because this is kind of a time-consuming process. So you're going to want to try to speed it up as much as you can. So I just keep doing the same thing. I take like 3 or 4 of the little bundles off of the grass skirt and cut them all at once. I'm trimming the excess fabric at the end and finishing that off with a few more pieces of the grass skirt. And then like I did before, I just kind of cut it down into that palm leaf shape. And then I go back and trim it a little bit just to give it some fun jagged edges. Now you've watched me make 2 of these and I have 2 more to make, but I think you've got the gist. So what I do is I'm going to take these, trim them down before, which makes it a little bit easier, just making them a little bit shorter. But I'm going to take both of these and do the same thing to them that I did on the other 2. And this is how they turned out. So we have 4 of the little raffia palm fronds. And don't they look really cool? I'm loving them. So I kind of want to arrange them not super symmetrical. So I'm going to make this one kind of the highest one. And I just attach it to the burlap sign with a little bit of hot glue. I think it has like enough structure to stand up on its own with that placemat under it. This one I'm going to glue down here, kind of slightly overlapping the first one. And then this one is going to go up, but not quite as high as the other side. I don't want it to be symmetrical. And then we'll glue our remaining one down right here. So that's what we have so far. I think it's looking really super cute. This is kind of the structure. I still have the hanger. And everything is kind of standing up all on its own. I was torn about what to use. I thought about using foam board underneath the palm fronds, but I think the placemat worked out perfectly. Now, I told you before that we were going to use rope to go down the center of each one of those. So I'm just using Dollar Tree rope. This is like the thinner brown rope they have at the Dollar Tree. And I just kind of cut it down to size. And we're just going to hot glue down to the center, kind of covering up all the areas that we glued the palm fronds down. It's going to like further secure it too. And it's going to add like just another coastal touch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 4 of our palm fronds. Now for the bottom 2, you could kind of use one piece of rope and go from one to the other. I used 2 pieces, but after I went ahead and put them on, I thought I could have just continued that same rope and went down the other side. So that might be something you might want to try. Or you could do 4 pieces like this. And so we have all of our rope down. I think this provides just another like little texture and a little bit more structure to the piece. And I'm just using my heat gun because you do want to clean up any of the excess hot glue that might be visible. Now I wanted to adorn our palm tree with seashells. So I wanted something like white and tan, something very neutral to go with the color scheme on this. So I picked up 2 bottles of these little shells from the Dollar Tree that are just like a classic shell. They're kind of white with like tan or brown on them, but they're not real patterned or bright or anything. And I start by just gluing 4 to the 4 corners here of our rope. And then I'm going to continue them along each rope all the way down the palm frond and kind of just adorning the palm tree. So I'm doing them kind of with the tip touching the rope is the direction I chose to do them. And I kind of laid them out first so I would know exactly how many would fit. And then just going back and hot gluing those to the raffia, to the little grass skirt, all the way down. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing on all 4 of the palm fronds, laying them out to see how many will fit, and then just hot gluing these on. Now, I said before that I've seen pieces made with like raffia, palm trees made with raffia, and a lot of them use different types of shells to adorn the palm trees, the palm fronds, and that's what I'm doing here, but a lot of them completely cover the the tree part as well with shells, and I think that would look really pretty too. But I kind of liked it with just the shells on the palm frond, so that is what we're gonna do here. But if you decide to make yours with shells on the trunk, you'll have to be sure to log on to my Facebook group and share it with everybody because I would love to see it. Now, where I overlapped the leaves, it was a little tight in a few areas, so I do trim that up just a little bit so it's just not sticking out a lot there. And we have all of our little seashells glued to this project. What do you guys think about this DIY? I think it's so fun. Has a great structure. It has a hanger already. It is ready to go to hang in my house, and this is how it turned out.
I was pleasantly surprised with how this turned out. I really like the neutral colors of the burlap. The grass skirts from the Dollar Tree are always really fun to craft with. Adding the seashells to it really added another fun touch. I just think it's really creative and beautiful. What do you guys think about this one?
We're going to use some Dollar Tree craft wood. This is also really great to make signs with if you can't find the shelves that I used before. It's a different shape and size, and I wanted to show you something a little bit different. So we're going to use that one for this one instead of my favorite shelves. It is also nice and thick and not bowed. Real wood, I love that. One side of the wood is real rough and one side is real smooth. So we're definitely going to paint the smooth side, make our job a little bit easier here. So I'm just using like an ivory acrylic paint all over. As you can tell, that wood like really kind of soaked it in. So I am going to have to dry that and go on there with another coat. And what I'm going to do is put these 2 boards together to make a larger sign. And we're going to do some more rope art. I thought it was still a little faint, so I went over with another coat there. And then I'm also going to distress it with a little antique wax by Waverly and a chunky brush, just working in one direction. And then I follow that up with a baby wipe just to give that nice coastal farmhouse distress look that I love. Now it's time to put these 2 together too. I do a bead of hot glue to glue them together. And it wasn't holding great, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more hot glue. And I decided to use a little jumbo popsicle stick and some hot glue to brace it in the back just to make sure that it stays together because the boards are a little bit heavy. Now for this one, we are going to do rope art octopus. I've seen people do many versions of these, and so you can use mine for reference, or you can go online and kind of look at what other people have done. I'm definitely sketching this one out with a pencil because, you know, an octopus has 8 tentacles that we got to fit in here, and so this is how I did mine. I'm going to have like 4 of the tentacles in front, and then like 4 of the tentacles coming from behind. I want to include most of them on this sign, but some of them are going to be cut off just because they kind of have to be, like that one. And I kind of want to fill in the side areas too with them. So just kind of think about where you want them to be. The ones that go behind it, you're going to want to go behind everything so you don't have any lines there where you really don't need any. And basically everywhere that I am drawing a tentacle, everywhere that I'm putting the pencil, I'm going to have some rope. So I have all 8 tentacles. This is how exactly I drew mine. I will try to remember to put a picture of this in the Facebook group so you can use it for reference if you want to make yours similar. Then I'm going to use that same cloudless apple barrel paint and a tiny brush and just go one tentacle at a time. I know it's asking a lot to freehand this stuff and not use a stencil, but I really think that freehand is kind of the way to go on these. Especially if you use a pencil like that, because if you mess it up, you just erase it and draw it again. So don't be scared. I promise it's going to turn out cute. So I just do one tentacle at a time, and I'm just going to take my time, try to stay in line. We're going to do the entire octopus that color, and it's kind of like a cartoon version of an octopus. Very simple. Anybody, I think, could draw it. You just kind of have to get your tentacles all to fit and all to kind of make sense. So I have this tentacle from the back kind of gets cut off, and this tentacle here kind of gets cut off. I kind of wish I would have started my octopus a little bit higher because I kind of have extra space at the top and not quite as much space at the bottom as I would have liked. And I'll show you how I fix that when I go to hang this. But only a few more tentacles here to paint. And then we can paint the octopus too. You can kind of see my pencil lines through my paint, so I can kind of still see where I need to put my rope. And we're just going to finish off the rest of the octopus with that blue color. Now, since we are like doing 8 tentacles and they're really not that large, I'm going to use that same twine from Walmart because it's kind of an in-between size between the jute cord from Dollar Tree and the Dollar Tree rope. And I am using a finer tip hot glue gun because I don't want a whole lot of hot glue because this rope's not super thick. And I just started right there at that section of the tentacle there at the bottom, and then gluing it up around our little octopus head. With the octopus head, you kind of want to make it bulbous shape like that, kind of like a light bulb. And I'm going to continue this same piece of twine as long as I can. That'll make it a little bit easier. And this Dollar Tree cord, or Dollar Tree Walmart jute cord, is definitely a little rough. So you'll notice I do a lot of trimming and pulling out of some of the crazy fibers as we're going along, just trying to keep it as clean as we can. And I'm still going on this same piece. Since this is the front part of the octopus, this part should be easy. I'm kind of trying to remember which tentacles were in front. So this one here was in front too. I'm going to go ahead and do like a sharp little turn there, pinch that together, and then have that come down and around this tentacle, and then it's going to go off of the sign. So I will have to end this one and start a new one. So I'm just going to cut that off there at the bottom of the board. And we're going to start here on that same tentacle and try to continue this on. And again, I can kind of see my pencil lines there, so I kind of know what was where. And this one was a front tentacle too in my plan. So I go straight to the bottom, trim it, start again on the other side of that tentacle, pinch it again, try to keep this one going. And this one went way up here, down. And so I go around that all the way down it. And then this one's going to kind of come up and kind of have a dead end here, right about here. Because that other one right next to it is part of this tentacle that's going to be coming from behind it. And so now it's just a matter of cutting pieces to fit all of the smaller sections, like that tentacle and this one back here, until we have it all outlined. And I think this is so fun. When my son said that I should make an octopus DIY, and I was like, I am making an octopus DIY. And he was like, yay. I was like, how did you know? But make sure you don't cut them too short. I did have to kind of patch one there. And just trying to fill up all of the edges that are kind of exposed there of all of our little background tentacles. So this was a lot of little rope and gluing, but super fun to create. And again, you could do about any sea creature. So today we've done a sea turtle, we've done a nautilus, and now we're doing an octopus. So I got it all on there. I'm going in with my lighter, burning off all the fuzzies, trying to clean that up a little bit. And I didn't really like the extra spot on the top of my sign, so I took it to my saw real quick, trimmed it down a little bit just to make myself happier. And now we can drill some holes to make a hanger because I want this cute octopus to be a hanging sign. So this is 11 inches long, this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to do like 2.5 inches in from each side. And then this is just heavy duty wood, so we're just going to use a drill right through there and make our own hangers. Kind of a step you don't have to do if you do use the little shelves. I'm going to go ahead and use that same jute cord from Walmart, hot gluing the ends, stringing it from the back, tying a knot in the front, and we're just going to make a simple little hanger for this. Now, I was trying to get opinions again from my son on this. I'm like, does my octopus need eyes? And, we went back and forth, and then I was like, you know what? I think it does need eyes, but I think it's really cute without it. So you can see it before, and then you'll see it after, and you can decide if you want your octopus to have eyes too. But I just started in the middle, over on the side where I thought the eyes would be, and we are just gluing little spiral patterns of that jute cord, kind of overlapping the jute cord on the side there until we get a nice size eye. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now it kind of looks like little hypnotized eyes on my octopus, like my octopus is hypnotized because it's got like that spiral shape. But you know what? I think it turned out really good, and I'm glad that I gave my little octopus some eyes because I think it gave him like a lot of personality. Now, the only other thing my son suggested, he was like, you know what? You did the dots on the sea turtle. Why don't you do dots the same way? And you can do 2 feet. So that's what I'm attempting to do. Using the tip of a tiny paintbrush from Dollar Tree dipped in some ivory acrylic. And I am just kind of doing little suction cup 2 feet, on the bottom. I want to do it on the back ones if I can. I got kind of confused over on this side, like which one was my back tentacle and which one wasn't. So I'm going to kind of erase some of these on one that I didn't really want because that was actually a front one. And so half of our tentacles have little white dots on it. And I think it turned out so cute.
So here it is, our little octopus sign. I love using like rope or twine like that to create art. You can kind of make whatever you want as far as sea creatures. And I think this guy turned out really cute. Just using the twine for its eyes, I think really added a fun, unique touch to him. And I think this would be really cute with like coastal decor. I think it would also look really cute in a little kid's room that has like kind of an ocean theme. Very fun. So this is one of the shore living baskets from Dollar Tree. I think they have these in the regular aisle too. Might just be a different color, but I really like this one. It's got like the little leather tab on there and it's a great size. And I thought it'd make a great beach terrarium. So I'm going to fill up most of the body of the basket with just some of those foam rings from Dollar Tree. Circles just to fill up some bulk space so I won't have to use as much sand. And then I just use 1 package of the tan sand, which fills it up nicely. You don't want it too full because the basket's a little bit wobbly. Now for the greenery, I'm going to be using fake plants today, but if you have a green thumb, you can definitely use real ones. This came in a little pot. I think it kind of looks like an air plant that I picked up at Dollar Tree. The driftwood is from Target. You can just use whatever you've got. I just wanted a little bit of driftwood in here for a little bit of a rustic beach touch. Now, the starfish I got on Temu, you can like kind of use whatever you have. And my new seashell, I just got at Sanibel. I did post a picture of my Sanibel Island like haul. I got so many shells. I was a little short on time because I could have gotten so many more. There were so many at the lighthouse. I was in heaven. So here it is, a little beach terrarium. And you know, you can get those baskets at Dollar Tree. They seem to have them all the time now, like in their like home decor aisle. Very similar to this one, different styles. But just put some sand in there from the beach or from Dollar Tree, and then add some of your little beach treasures to it. I love the fact that I added like a little greenery with the plant. It kind of looks a little bit like dune grass there, but I thought it was really coastal and fun. Now for the next DIY, you're going to need some small wood animals, ocean animals, and you used to be able to get them at Dollar Tree, but I found some available on Amazon. I'm going to use some of these little wood boxes from the Dollar Tree, 4 of them. They have the little like metal file folder like holders at the end. I just needed 4 tiny little squares, so I think they have these in a couple sizes, but basically you could use whatever you had. You know, you might even be able to use one of those like crates from the Target dollar spot if you can't find these, but I just picked up 4 all the same size, and I thought we could put it together and then use some of those little shore living ornaments to make a cool little coastal shadow box. So I'm going to start by gluing them together. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue, kind of a short-term, a long-term hold on those, and just kind of glue them together, trying to make them square. I'm going to make sure that the holes where the little file folder things that I removed are kind of pointing towards each other. So I will glue those together, and I'll have a beautiful like wood finish on all of them. So once I get the top 2 together, I just glue the whole thing together. And these were remarkably square. They fit together really nicely. And now we have a really like large shadow box that we can decorate. I was going to reinforce it on the back with popsicle sticks, but I found that it didn't really need it at all. Now, the wood on this is really pretty inside and on like around the edges, but the actual like front of the frames are that like unfinished like MDF. So I do want to paint those. So I am just going to go through and tape off everything that I don't want to get any paint on, and then we can go in and paint these blue. The color that I'm using there, I think, is the Caribbean blue. These are just acrylic paint, and I'm going to go in and kind of use my chunky brush to kind of give me that coastal like vibe, but I'm going for about as good coverage as I can get. I want to do like the inside of each box where it's that like unfinished MDF wood, and the fronts as well. And it's gonna make it look beachy with this beautiful like Caribbean blue color, but it's also going to cover up that part of the wood that's not pretty and just leave all of the pretty ones. I don't know why they don't kind of finish that off completely. I guess these are supposed to be like little bins, but we're going to use them for frames. So going over, trying to give like a nice like coastal farmhouse vibe on this. And then we can dry it and remove all the painter's tape. Taping it was probably the hardest part of the whole process. But it did a pretty good job. And doesn't that look cool? Because it's got like that rustic blue with like the wood coming through. Very coastal with that like light wood background. Now, these are the little ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use like 4 different ones. They have these every year with the shore living, and I was able to find them again this year. And actually, I had 3 of the big ones, and I decided to do some smaller, some of the clothespins for the 3rd one. These little fish. Now, I like popping the clothespins off of these, but you got to be careful because sometimes they're like really glued down, and you're going to end up
you know, like splitting your wood or breaking it in half. So you might want to use a little bit of heat first. I was just going right after it to try to get that off. But I really like these little tiny wood cutouts. I kind of wish they wouldn't have the clothespins on them because, you know, I'm not really going to use them like that for a lot of applications. Now, I do want to fill up the hole in the starfish, the sea turtle, and the little seahorse. And so I just used hot glue to try to fill that in. You can use spackle. I never really know what works best, but one of y'all told me to try that, so I did. Now we're going to paint our little ornaments. The little starfish has like little circles on it. I kind of wanted just the plain side, so I'm painting the back. And then the sea turtle and the seahorse, and I was able to get 2 of those little fish off of the little clothespins. And I found that you could still kind of see the holes, and since it's kind of a display piece, I really didn't want you to be able to see the holes in these. So after painting, I did notice that it still needed some filler, so I did go back and spackle them. That's the only thing I like about the ocean creature wood ornaments that I get on Amazon is that they don't have the holes in them. And you could still see the holes after my spackle, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get serious with this one. So I decided to try covering it up with some masking tape. Sometimes I have luck for that. I don't know. Maybe I just don't fill my spackler enough or like give it enough time to dry. But we're going to try the masking tape method because I really don't want to be able to see that hole. And I have filled it twice with glue and with spackle. And I'm painting these with that ivory chalk paint, so it's kind of thick. So I think that I can cover up like the depth of the masking tape and it'll kind of make it blend all in. That is my plan anyway. And I think I finally got good coverage there. And then I want them to look, you know, a little distressed. And so I am going to use some Antique Wax by Waverly to distress them slightly. Just want a little bit of a tan distress on there. So I'm following that up with a baby wipe to get it just how I want it. And I'm going to do the same thing with all of them, just kind of working in one direction. I always like to use those little chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree. And then a baby wipe to kind of blend it in. It's going to give us that distressed look and not quite so stark ivory or white. And I just kind of want like an even level of distress on all of them. If you don't think it's distressed quite enough, you can always go back in. And if you distress too much, you can always go back with your original color too. Don't be afraid to try to do it. It's actually pretty easy. But sometimes it does take a couple tries to get it exactly the way that you want it. And now we can put it together. I'm going to do my 2 little fish here, like kind of swimming in a school. It could be really cute if you had 3 too, but the boxes are not that big. And I chose these little crates because they were square. I thought that would look cool. And here is our little starfish. I just hot glue that one in there. And our little seahorse on this side. And our little sea turtle over here. I finally got the holes covered in those. I think I should have started with the masking tape first. Now, I wanted it to look like there was a little fishing net, but the fishing net from the Dollar Tree, this is the kind they have in the summer section. I'm not a big fan of it because the holes are kind of too big. So I kind of wanted to show you that in comparison to what I'm going to use. These are the little ombre tote bags from the Dollar Tree. If you see these, pick these up because look how good this material is to make like a tiny fishnet. It does have like half pink, half ivory, but we're just going to use the ivory. I'm just going to cut some out to make some fishing net, just to kind of display over on the side. I know that some of you guys have said to use like, I think the Dollar Tree has the little, you know, no skid rug backers that kind of similar color and
size that you could also use to make a fishing net. But since this is kind of more like a miniature project, I thought that I wanted a fishing net with more of a smaller vibe like that. So I just cut a strip of it out, and I'm just going to kind of hot glue it here on the back and just kind of drape it over the side just to give me a fun little coastal feel. Now, Dollar Tree does have some smaller wood shapes again in 2 packs. I'm not sure. It depends on which size crate you get, like this little wood crate, whether they would fit in there or not. Other places I like to get my wood beachy shape set now are Temu. And again, I have bought them before on Amazon. Once you have those, you can just turn Dollar Tree items like this into something really coastal and fun. We definitely miss the shore living line at Dollar Tree. For this DIY, I wanted to combine a couple things I found at the Dollar Tree. I found a really pretty candle holder and a really pretty glass bottle that's the same color. So I thought we could put these together and maybe make a lamp out of it. So I'm gonna put this upside down. So I do need all the tags to be off there. That one had the stickiest tag ever on there, but nothing a little heat and glue away can't take care of. And I want them both to be really clean because I want to glue them together, and I want the glasses to bond like that. The candle holder I thought would be a nice strong base to make it heavier, combining the 2 glass pieces together. And I'm just going to have it upside down, holding up the bottle. Since it's glass on glass, I use some of the Gorilla Clear Grip glue and then hot glue in the middle, little short-term, long-term hold on that, and put it on there. I think it kind of looks like a little bit like a lampshade, right? And you can see through it, so I'm going to fill it up and make a little beach scene in mine. I do some of the Dollar Tree sand in here, not too much. I want to leave room for some seashells that I found at the beach. So I'm just going to scatter some of those in there. And I want to light this up with a solar light. I'm going to be using one of the solar lights from Dollar General that are a little bit smaller, but you could always use the ones from the Dollar Tree for this one as well. I also added a couple of the Dollar Tree shells in there as well. So I'm just going to use the very top part like that, and that light bulb will light up the entire bottle. I was trying to decide if I was going to keep this bow or not. I ended up ditching it. It was bothering me. But I'm just going to connect the solar light with hot glue around the rim. It's a perfect size. I think that's going to be strong enough. And then I decided maybe this raffia would look better maybe if I just knotted it. And then I was like, you know what? It's really not necessary. So I'm just going to remove it. And here it is, our fun little solar light, little beach theme. I love a good solar light DIY. I love lighting up any kind of a glass bottle, sometimes even plastic. If you can find them already tinted like this from the Dollar Tree, it's going to make your job even easier. But you can always tint with food coloring mixed together with some Mod Podge and tint the glass yourself, or use some of the frosting spray paint. You can see how well all the little seashells illuminate in there at night. And this was a really fun DIY to put outdoors. I love the fact that it turns itself on at night. Okay, next DIY, we're going to take some of the Dollar Tree burlap, some of their sand dollars, 3 of them, and 1 of the long board signs. You could use really any kind of board sign you could find from the Dollar Tree. Again, I want to work with an odd number on the sand dollars. And so I think 3 will fit on this size sign well, but the reason you can use anything is because I'm going to cover it with burlap anyway, but I do like the light wood frame on that one. So this is just Dollar Tree burlap. I guess you could probably use some of the printed one if you wanted. I kind of wanted simplicity on this project, but I'm going to have to kind of iron it first to be able to have a flat piece of burlap because the way they have it rolled up. So I'm just going to kind of iron this section and cut off what I need to cover the back of that sign. Anytime you do like a burlap with like a white starfish, sand dollar, whatever, looks so coastal, it looks so pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a little bit more than I need. And then I'm going to measure my sign so I can I want it to be like raveled at the edges, like, you know, like real burlap does. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to kind of pull off the string there to kind of make it look raveled. And then kind of trim it a little bit because it was a little bit uneven for my first side. And I'll show you the trick that I use to cut burlap really easily. This one, I'm just going to be able to kind of trim it. But for the next one, I'm going to pull a strand. So if you lay it on there and kind of figure out where exactly you want to cut, find that individual strand of burlap, grab a hold of it, and just yank it out. Just a great trick for cutting burlap. And ever since I learned this technique, I always do it because then it gives you a little path right there to cut. So just gonna cut all the way up. It's gonna give me a straight line. And that looks really cool. So I'm gonna do the same thing here at the top, just pulling my strand and cutting this off. Now, I don't want you to be able to see any glue or anything like that with the burlap, so I'm actually going to use Mod Podge to secure it. And so I'm just going to Mod Podge on the back of the sign. This sign's really pretty. I mean, you could probably get away without the burlap, but you know, I like textures on my DIYs. And this is going to be a great coastal DIY that can go anywhere in my home because you guys know I have every room done in coastal because, hey, I live at the beach. Why not? Now, I just put a nice coat of Mod Podge all over and then just laid the burlap on there. Just going to use a paper towel to kind of dry that off. And have you guys seen the new, like, you see that little paintbrush that I use, the paint sponge? They have those like in little variety packs with all different kinds of paintbrushes now at Dollar Tree. It's new. I've never seen them before, but I think it's a good deal. Now for the hanger, I'm going to want to switch it to vertical. It was horizontal before, and I always save these little hangers off of the Dollar Tree signs when I don't use them, and so that is what I'm going to use. I just find the center. It has a plenty thick frame that I can screw into, no problem. And just trying to get it centered on there so it's going to hang right. But whenever I can use like a real hanger like this, I'm going to try to do it. Just going to make it look a little bit more professional. So I just screwed that into the back, trying to get it in there all the way. And then we can go ahead and decorate this with sand dollars. So we have the great base. These sand dollars are great. They're not real sand dollars. They're like, I don't know if they're made out of what, resin or plastic, but they're great for crafting because they're not going to break. And they actually are not that gray tint this year. So I picked up a whole case of these online. I have my Dollar Tree link in the description below if you'd like to pick up a case. I still think that they're available by the case. I don't know if the starfish are. A few things have been added, a few things deleted, I think. And then I kind of want them evenly spaced out. So this is about 16 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark about 8 inches here. And then I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do like every 4 inches. Then I thought that wouldn't be too good. So I'm going to do like 4.5 inches on both sides and just put a dot there. I think I can kind of do the measurement the other way just by eye. And all I'm going to do is simply hot glue the little sand dollars down. I'm going to start with the center one. I kind of like them with like the long slot there pointing down on these. But how cute is that? I'm going to do the same thing here with the other two. This DIY really doesn't need a lot of fuss. It's just going to be a sand dollar like plank board sign. And I love the skinny signs like this because you can kind of just put this anywhere. My house has like a lot of like skinny walls and areas because it's not like a big house by any means. And this is going to be great. I think I might put this maybe in a bathroom. I think that would look really good. And just gluing those on. So cute. So easy. Just a fun idea you can use these little sand dollars for. And if you want to source for sand dollars, I have bought them a lot on Amazon. I'm pretty sure you can get them from Temu too. I don't know if I've gotten any this size from Temu, but I love the fact that these are just resin sand dollars. I have quite a stash of these and the starfish from Dollar Tree because I love coastal crafting.
We're going to use a Shore Living glass sticker, that beautiful seahorse, and then this beautiful beachy blue candle. This is just one of the tall candles they have all the time at Dollar Tree. I love this color though. When you peel off the plastic, it does leave like a really sticky adhesive. So I always like to use a little bit of Glue Gun on that, but then you kind of have to clean the glue gun off so that you can secure the sticker to it. But these glass stickers are so fun, and it's perfect for a glass candle, right? I'm just going to use the seahorse itself. I think the colors are so pretty on it. It's the perfect size for one of these long candles, and just peel and stick the glass sticker on there. Trying to get it on there right the first time because I don't really want to weaken the adhesive on the sticker. And then I wanted to give it like a little bit of a coastal touch in addition. And so I found this at the Dollar Tree the other day. It is like a macrame cotton rope. And I like it because it's like kind of the same kind of color and feel as the white rope from Dollar Tree, but on a much smaller scale. And I thought that would look really cute wrapped around it, the candle, kind of like you would do with twine, but this time with a little white rope. So I just start in the back here of my candle and hot glue that macrame rope to it. And we're just going to go around several times until I think it looks good. And you don't have to worry about, like, you can light this candle because it's all secure in a jar. I am going to go ahead and put some of this macrame rope on the top as well. But since I'm securing it to the side of the jar, it's not like it's going to catch on fire or anything, I don't think. So I hope not. We're going to glue that here at the top, kind of down a little bit, just to kind of cover the very top of the candle. These candles aren't always the most beautiful on the sides. I always try to pick out kind of the best side for the front whenever I'm DIYing with them. But I go around this one about the same, I think 4 times.
And this was a really quick, easy DIY. I love using these like jar prayer candles for DIYs. If you can find a fun beachy decal, Dollar Tree is probably not your best bet for that right now since they don't have the shore living anymore. But you can definitely get these online, other sources. I've got some really cute ones on Temu, like little glass stickers and decals like this. And if you can find a long skinny one like this, it's going to be perfect for these long jar candles from the Dollar Tree. But I really love the color on this one. I've used this one for several different DIYs, always coastal. Okay, next beach DIY. I'm going to do a driftwood candle holder for one of those shore living battery operated candles. I'm using the wood slices, some of these wood puzzle cubes, a wood square, and of course the shore living battery operated candle. This one is the sea turtle one. Isn't it so cute? Absolutely love it. My store got these in really late, so keep checking your stores. You never know what you're going to find. Now for the little wood base for the candle holder, I'm just using one of like the chunky wood squares. We're going to give it a makeover with some of these wood slices from the Dollar Tree. I think these things make great driftwood. So that's what I'm going to use. You could kind of use whatever you have. You could use real driftwood. You could use sticks. It's going to kind of give you the same kind of vibe. I'm going to use my miter scissors to help me because these are all kind of the same length. So I'm definitely going to have to cut these down to size. And I just do the first one with just some hot glue right here on the very edge. And I want to cover the entire candle holder with driftwood to give it that coastal beachy look. So definitely going to have to cut these down. I find that my miter scissors, I did replace the blades. One of you guys told me I should do that, and it is way better now. I might even need to do it again because it's getting a little bit more difficult. I noticed the thing with them, you really have to cut 3D items like this. Like you can't cut anything flat. It has to have some shape to it, which these do, so it works well for this. But it can still be a little bit difficult, those. I got those on Amazon. I think I have those linked in my Amazon shop. And it's a lot easier than using a saw on these for sure. So as you can see, I'm just doing one side at a time. I'm doing the bottom level first. And basically that's one full one and one cut one is going to fit that nicely. And anytime I do driftwood, I'm going to want to try to alternate different sizes, make it look random. That's going to make it look more like a driftwood piece. So here is my last piece to finish off the bottom. And it's got like that beveled edge on this one. And so I'm just going to kind of go with that. I left it just plain wood. So if you see any of that wood exposed underneath my little driftwood pieces, then it's going to kind of blend in and look just like more driftwood, right? So I'm doing the same thing I did before, kind of one whole piece, one shorter piece, whatever will fit here, and just gluing it right into that bevel. And then it's just going to leave me with the top part to cover with it. And it was actually really easy to do. Just a lot of hot gluing for this project, but it turned out really cool. So I'm up here to the top. As you can see, the pieces are all like a little bit different in diameter. I'm trying not to use any of the really thick pieces just because I think it will stick out. And I want this part to be fairly flat. It is a battery operated candle, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just something that's going to provide a nice flat base. And again, I'm trying to alternate like which side like the longer piece is on and which side the shorter cut piece is on. Like that to kind of make it look more random. Think like you're putting in like flooring and something like that. And I just keep going with that. So I'm using like all of my thinner pieces. This one is a little bit thicker, but I don't think it's going to be too much. But you know what? Those thicker pieces are definitely harder to cut. So I'm going to open up a second package to kind of get me some more pieces that are pretty much the same size. And I'm going to finish covering the top of this. And I do have another driftwood project that I'm going to use these for. If you see these at your crafter square, pick them up. They go so fast, but they make great driftwood. They also have them in the round shapes and like one that's cut like in a chip. But this one is my favorite one for sure. So I've got the entire thing covered. Once I do that, I'm just going to kind of try to clean up the excess hot glue with my heat gun. And this is what it looks like. Really fun, right? Now for the bottom, I'm going to put little feet on it to boost it up. And this is one of those like wood puzzles from like the toy aisle at Dollar Tree. It's a nice thick wood cube. You could also use the wood cubes from the crafter square or from the wood bead garland. But these are a little bit chunkier, so that's why I chose these. I'm just trying to glue them strategically so that you can't see the holes in them because they're a little bit different. So I do one in each corner. It's just going to rise it up, make it look cool. And my battery operated candle, all I have to do is turn it on. I love creating projects like this with wood. Dollar Tree and the wood slices, I haven't been able to find them there lately, but I did want to include this DIY in case you have some. There's other things you could use for that as well. You could use like the wood stems. You could use like driftwood that you found from the beach or even like little sticks. I love the fact that the wood is a little bit irregular like that. I think it adds a lot of character to this candle holder DIY.
I thought we could do some like seashells, rope, floating candle kind of thing. So I'm just going to use some of this white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And basically, I'm just going to wrap that around the bottom of the little globe just to provide a nice little coastal touch. And it kind of stabilizes it a little bit too. Since we're going to have a floating candle in here, I found floating candles at Dollar Tree, and I thought that was a great find. Those are always really fun. So I'm just going to turn it over and do a bead of hot glue around the base, and then I can just glue that rope all the way around, just providing a nice little coastal touch. I just kind of sit it in there and push it up against the glass. Now, it's the fun part, seashells. I'm just going to use some from my collection from the beach. Some of these are probably from Dollar Tree. They have a pretty good selection of shells as well. These look really pretty. I'm thinking these are from Sanibel. I'm still really bummed out about what happened to the other coast over there with that hurricane. And we went to Sanibel last summer, right before that happened. What a shame. And then we're going to fill it up with water. So we have no sand on the bottom of this one. We just have the shells, fill it with water, and then these are the little floating candles. One of these is going to fit in there, I think, just perfectly. And this was so fun. It just floats around in there, and you can light it. It looks really cool at night.
And this is just very versatile. Those little glass fish bowls like that from the Dollar Tree are really easy to source. You can add whatever seashells you have found at the beach or whatever you can find at the store and add them to the bottom. You will have to just switch out the water from time to time, but I love this in my kitchen. Okay, the next DIY, I wanted to see if I could take some of the bamboo rings, a planter from the Dollar Tree, and make a fun little coastal planter DIY. So I picked up this navy color. I thought this would look really nice with some of this new coral fabric. This is from the Shore Living line as well. And it's more of a royal blue with like light blue coral on it. So I thought we could kind of make this correspond. So I popped the bottom of it off because I'm only going to do the top part of it. But what I want to do is do a fabric covered pot. And then I also want to see if we can make a fun Dollar Tree DIY plant stand with those bamboo rings. So I picked up this pot because I thought it would fit nicely in the smaller ring of the bamboo rings. And I just wrapped that fabric around. It looks like it's going to be plenty big enough to go all the way around. So what I'm going to do is just wrap it tight since it's kind of an odd shape, right? And just start cutting it off where I'll have excess fabric on the top and the bottom. And then I can always trim it down to size. I thought this would be the best way because, you know, the bottom of the pot is skinnier than the top of the pot. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a weird shape here to keep it tight against the pot. So that looks pretty good. And to attach it, we're just going to use Mod Podge. So I just start with like one section at a time. And we're going to cover it with Mod Podge and start attaching the fabric, wrapping it all the way around. I wasn't sure how it would work on this like line textured plastic pot, but it actually worked pretty well. It was pretty easy to do. So I'm just going to do like the center section here, nice coat, and lay that down kind of like in the center part of the fabric that we cut down to size. And then we can just keep adding glue and wrapping the fabric around. So once I have that in place, I did this side of it, wrapped the fabric tight, and made sure I had enough Mod Podge down to do like the entire piece. And then we can wrap that around and slightly overlap that to finish it off. I do want like my cut for the back of my pot to be kind of straight, so trying to cut that at like a little bit of a straighter angle there. So it kind of makes sense for like a single line seam there on the back. And then I'm just going to use more Mod Podge to glue the fabric to itself, slightly overlapping right here in the back. Just making sure there's no bubbles, everything's laying down smooth. It went on super easy. And then I'm just going to cut along the top part of the pot any of the excess fabric off. And it doesn't have to be perfect because I do have an idea to kind of cover up my loose seams on this to make sure I don't have any like odd cuts or fraying or anything like that. So I get it cut as close to the plastic as I can all the way around the top part of the pot. On the bottom, I was wondering if I could like leave it and fold it down inside, but I ended up just going ahead and cutting it off like I did with the top. A little trickier to get in there, but again, just trying to cut it as close to the pot as I can. I want to be able to pop back on the bottom part of the pot. And since the colors match together, I think it'll still match well. That like navy color with this beautiful coral fabric. I wasn't sure about this DIY. I was kind of winging it on the plant stand and stuff like that, but I actually really love how it turned out. Pretty cute. So again, I just pop the bottom back on, trying to make sure I don't have any strings, any crazy fraying on that, and that it's all glued down really well. Let's just go ahead and remove the sticker here from the bottom of it. I was trying to decide if I was going to make it like a hanging plant stand or a standing one. I ended up doing a standing one to kind of raise it up and make a little plant stand for this pot. Really fun to do. And I want to trim it out with some burlap. So this is the burlap trim from the Dollar Tree. I thought this would be perfect for that top seam. And I'm going to kind of hot glue it on there with a tiny bit of an overlap over the top to kind of give, this is like kind of a curvier one. They come in these like multi-packs of like different shapes and sizes, but I really like them because the burlap really looks really great with all kind of coastal crafting. So I just go all the way around, and I just have my seam be right there with the fabric seam on the back. Now for the bottom part, I'm going to switch it up to a different design, a little bit smaller, same package, and do like the zigzag burlap trim just to do the seam along the bottom. And I don't really want it to interfere with that bottom section. I just kind of want it to make the seam look better here. So again, I start on that seam there on the back and just hot glue that trim all the way around. It's just going to finish everything off. No unraveling or crazy cuts or anything like that exposed. Just makes it look a little bit more professional and finished. I think that looks pretty good. Now, I'm not going to do a real plant on this. I'm actually going to DIY like a faux plant because your girl does not have a green thumb. I think it's the fact that my house doesn't have great windows. It's an older home, and my last house here in Florida had great windows for plants. This one just doesn't, and so I keep most of my plants outside, but I wanted to do a cute little planter for inside. So these are the bamboo rings I'm going to use to make the stand. They come in a 2-pack with a larger and a smaller one. I end up using the 2 smaller ring pieces. As you can see, that fits really well for that size pot. It goes about half the way up. And so I'm going to kind of DIY one. So these are little bamboo sticks that I actually got on Amazon. They should be linked in my Amazon shop, but you could also use the wood dowels from Dollar Tree. I like these just because they're flat. And I'm just going to use my miter scissors to simply cut these down to size. I'm going to need 3 pieces all about the same size. And I just kind of estimated how big I wanted it to be. And that's going to be my side pieces to hold the planter up. Since I'm doing a DIY, like not a real plant, it's not going to be super heavy. So I think that this stand will be definitely sturdy enough. I just do a bead of hot glue there on the bamboo stick. Stick it on the bamboo ring from the Dollar Tree. Just like that. And I'm going to do like one every third of the way around. So if I turn that around, I can kind of see where I need to space out the other 2. That way it's not too busy. I think that's going to be plenty of structure on this little plant stand. So again, just a little dot of hot glue on the bottom, gluing that bamboo to that. And these work really well together. I've made like a coastal toilet paper holder for one of my coastal bathrooms using these bamboo sticks the full length, and it turned out great. I've done it a couple of years ago, and it is still working well. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on the top. I do a bead of hot glue on the inside of each one of them. I'm going to flip it over. That way I can kind of use my work desk as leverage there to glue that on to the other wooden ring. So just a really simple little plant stand, but I thought it was a fun little DIY to do. And the bamboo always looks nice and coastal. So now that that's complete, I'm going to leave it as is. I love the bamboo color of that wood. And we can start DIYing our little faux plant. And I'll show you exactly how I did that. I just popped in a couple of the little foam blocks from the Dollar Tree. And this is the greenery that I found at Dollar Tree today. I think it's so pretty. It looks like a tiny like monstera like leaf, a really cute little pattern. And I just cut individual leaves for the first couple rounds to make it lower and not too tall. And I'm just going to kind of go around the edges, just kind of like pushing those down between the different foam pieces all the way around. And I don't really want you to be able to see inside the pot, but I am going to kind of cover that foam and stuff in case you can see in there a little bit. Wanted to see how much coverage. These are kind of a plasticky leaf, but they did still kind of iron pretty well with my heat gun. when they were going bent or anything like that. So one package kind of went all the way around the edges. I'm going to go in with some floral moss while I can still kind of get to the foam. This is the Dollar Tree brown floral moss, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to put a little on top of the foam, a little on the top on the sides. Nothing crazy. I just want none of the foam to be visible and it to look like it has like almost like a soil color there as the base. I'm going to cut apart this second bunch too. I'm going to use a total of 3 bunches of these to make a nice size plant to look like a really beautiful little house plant that I don't have to take care of. So as you can see, it's filling out really nicely. Since I cut those all down to size, all of those leaves are like a nice shorter. And I'm going to leave the last bundle together. It is too tall though, so I'm going to try to shorten that the best that I can. For some reason, the wires in these were like super strong here at the base. So I tried with my pliers to kind of break those off, and I didn't have a lot of luck. So I actually just kind of bent them up, the wires, because I couldn't get them to cut. That's okay. And I just put the middle section down. That provided a nice height for the little house plant, and just kind of arrange it a little bit. Actually turned out pretty cute. Looks like a little faux house plant. And I don't know if the plant stand would be strong enough if you filled it up with potting soil. I guess you could always try it. And I love that fabric that I used to cover the little flower pot, but you could use whatever you could find. You could even use like coastal napkins and decoupage those on, especially if you're using it indoors like I am. But it was a really fun little plant stand DIY, and the little tropical plant in there is really pretty as well. A fun way to use those little bamboo wood rings at the Dollar Tree. And I always enjoy crafting with those bamboo sticks. I get those on Amazon. And I do have those linked in my Amazon shop below.
I'm going to use some of this nautical rope from the Dollar Tree and just a framed sign. I got this actually at Goodwill. You can use whatever you've got. You just want something with a frame, and so we're going to go with this one. I used to get these kind of signs at Goodwill all the time for half off, but for some reason my Goodwill doesn't do like the half off sales anymore, which is kind of a bummer. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of sketch out what I want this to look like. I want this to look like a shark fin, like peeking out of the ocean. So we're going to do some shark DIYs today. So I just do my best shark fin, just sketching that out to give me some reference. I saw an inspiration piece. I will try to find the link. I'm not sure if I still have the link. Just somebody that did something similar and inspired me to try some rope art, and it was so fun to make, and it turned out so cute. So I'm just going to start with a new package of white rope. I just took the tape off the end, and I am going to cut it down to size to start making our little shark fin. And what we're going to do is basically cover the entire sign with rope. And I don't have any colored rope for this DIY, but I'm going to show you how to get around that by just painting this white rope from the Dollar Tree. Like paints really well. I don't know what I have on my hand there. It must be Antique Wax by Waverly. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to glue that around my template. The reason I drew it on there was just because it's kind of a weird shape to try to make with rope. And I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to fill in the rest of the shark fin. So I'm just going to kind of do it the same way, but I'm only going to do like one side. So I do one length like that, cut it down to size. And I'm going to keep doing little like arced pieces of rope like that until I fill it all the way in. So it just kind of looks like rows of rope. This was really fun to make. I'm thinking about doing something similar in an upcoming DIY, maybe with like ocean waves or something like that. I think that would be cool. And I just keep going until I have no space left. You have to be careful when you cut the little tiny pieces. They kind of fall apart. I'm just going to glue them all in there. Okay, so the shark fin is complete. I thought we could go ahead and paint it now before we get any further. I'm just using, I think this is elephant colored gray chalk paint. Doesn't really matter, but chalk paint does really work well on fabric. So I'm just using a brush to try to get as good coverage as I can so it kind of looks like they are gray rope. Getting down in all the like little nooks and crannies, trying to cover up as much of that white rope as I can. And I think that looks pretty good. Once I get that dry, we can start working on our ocean waves. We're doing it with rope too, but this time working like left to right, like horizontal. I'm just cutting out the strips now, so we can start gluing those down. That's about how high I want it to go up the side of the fin. But the bottom here, just 3 long rows all the way across. And then just cutting the smaller pieces down to size on the side, like 4 on each one. And just attaching those with hot glue as well. So basically just a little bit of cutting and some hot glue. Really easy to make the rope art. And now I want to do it like maybe a different direction to show the sky. But while I have this here, I'm just going to go ahead and paint it. I thought it would be easier to paint it now than to worry about trying to get some paint on the rest of the rope. I am using chalk paint again. This time I'm mixing agave with ivory. You can probably get away with acrylic. I have painted rope with acrylic before. I had the chalk paint though. That's why I'm just going ahead and use it. I just really wanted this light blue for the ocean waves, the water, and just going ahead and painting all of that light blue color. And so this is how you can definitely make it without the colored rope, because you can always paint it. I do think you need to put the rope down first though before you paint it. Just makes it easier. And it's okay if some of the white shows through, but I'm just using some tiny brushes to kind of go around the edges, get it a little bit more colored in. And it gives you that coastal feel with like the rope kind of like overhanging on the side. So don't be afraid to go all the way over to the sides with your rope. Now for the sky, I told you I was going to go a different direction. So we're just going to go up and down for these just to provide a little bit of variety and separate it from the water. Just cutting them down to size all the way up around the little shark fin. And now that I've got them cut to size, I can go in and just glue them in. I'm doing like 2 in a row because I'm like a professional now. All the way up to the top. And these are basically all the colors that I want to do. I want to do, you know, the gray fin, the blue water, and the white rope to represent the sky. You could always do the sky in a different color of blue if you want. I kind of wanted that color in my project, so I kind of like the contrast with the light blue and the white. And I'm going to use this in one of my coastal bathrooms for decor. I think it'll be really cute in there. My son's bathroom kind of has like a coastal beachy feel. Like day at the beach kind of thing. So a little shark sighting would definitely be par for the course when we go to the beach around here. Not that they necessarily look like this, peeking out of the water like that, but usually they swim right by. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go all over it with my heat gun to melt off any excess hot glue. Then I thought I would go back with a tiny brush and some of that ivory chalk paint and kind of like do like some little white caps like around the shark to kind of make it look like the ocean water is moving, and all over just kind of doing like a little wave action here and there just to provide a little bit more variety to the color. And I thought that added a little bit of dimension. to like just a 3-color project.
And I really love how this turned out. It did not take very much at all supply-wise to put this together. Changing the direction of the ropes for the different colored parts, I think gives them like a different texture, and it just really all works well together. I used this in my son's coastal bathroom, and I think it was perfect for that. Now for the next DIY, you could always substitute these little wood houses found at the Dollar Tree for the shore living ones.
We are going to make a little coastal shelf to go on the back of my toilet for my beachy bathroom. And I'm going to make it out of 2 of these little skinny wall shelves from the Dollar Tree. You could use these, you could use craft wood, that would work as well. The reason I liked these is because they're really thick and I think they're going to hold up well, and they actually have. On the back of the toilet to hold things and give it a little decorative touch as well. So 2 of those together is like the exact size of the back of my toilet. And then I'm going to use 2 of these little houses from the Dollar Tree shore living section. And then I also had 1 left over from the Target dollar spot from one of those little tier tray starter kits, I think. But you could use any of these other options from Dollar Tree as well. They have so many house shapes. I like the fact that my houses are going to be different sizes, and I like that they're all a little bit different color. I do like these little houses. The only thing I don't like is that little foam glitter sticker on there. I think we can do better than that. You got to be really careful when you remove these though. I'm just hitting it with a little heat from my heat gun and trying to pull it off as carefully as I can to get as little damage, because that paper on there will rip. But I love these little houses, the little on beach time, and it's a beach thing. I think this is going to look good in my son's bathroom. Trying to clean up a little bit of the adhesive, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up anyway with something a little cuter. I'm going to use a Dollar Tree seashell, a little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon, and a Dollar Tree sand dollar for the other house to cover the star that was on there. I think I got that it was for 4th of July, I think. So we're just going to glue down the little Dollar Tree sand dollar. Looks really cute on that little house. And I kind of wanted it to look like a row of beach homes on the back of my tray. So we're going to glue down the little Dollar Tree seashell, and then this is a little tiny starfish. I get those on Amazon. Those are always linked in my shop below. And then I'm going to kind of put this all together. The first step is attaching these 2 together. I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue all the way down and glue these together. And got really lucky that the size was exactly what I needed. Now I also got some Dollar Tree craft wood, so we can kind of make this into a tray. So I'm going to cut this piece down the same size as that sign and just remove the tag on there. And that is going to give me the back side of my tray, and I can just attach it kind of like that. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue all along. And I didn't use any wood glue at all on this project, and it is held up perfectly. It's very sturdy. And this, as you can see, that Dollar Tree craft wood is pretty thick too, even the thinner kind. And then I can line my little houses along the back of it like that. So I'm going to take another piece of that same craft wood, cut it down to size, remove the tag, and we can put that on the front. Now, I'm going to leave it like this raw wood. I think that's going to give me a nice coastal vibe. It's okay that it's a little bit different finish from the shelves. It's going to make it look more unique, I think. So I just glued the front part of the tray down just like the back. And now I have one more piece here. I can cut down sides for these. I'm going to go end to end on the sides. Kind of sandwich that in there. That way I can just glue that to the end. So I'm going to go here on the other side and cut down another piece. So super easy, just a little bit of hot glue on the 2 sides of the frame. And we're going to sandwich that in there up against the bottom of the shelves where everything is kind of square, kind of flush. And we're going to get this cute little tray. Who knew that a tray was so easy to put together, right? Okay, now it's time to make this cute. I want to use those little houses. Two of those and one of this little one fit in there just really nicely. I kind of like the two big ones kind of next to each other and the smaller one at the end. Then I thought I should do a little fence all the way around to make it look like a little shore fence at the beach. And so I'm just going to do that with popsicle sticks. So I'm not going to bother cutting like a fence post, like a point on it or anything. I think I'm just going to use like the arch that's already on there. I think that'll be really cute. So I'm going to use that one for reference, and we're going to go through and cut down a bunch of these. Two size. You can definitely get two out of one popsicle stick. And I'm just going to cut down enough to go all the way around like all four sides. It's going to provide like a decorative fence touch, but it's also going to make the sides of the tray a little bit higher and make it a little bit more functional. So I thought I would give myself kind of a little line here to kind of look like a little wire connecting the fence together. I thought about actually stringing wire around them, but I thought I just kind of wanted to look a little bit of a line, not so much the actual wire sticking up. So I just kind of lay mine all on there first so I can kind of get my spacing the way I want it. I'm not going to measure anything. We're just going to start gluing those on all the way across. Isn't that a quick, a simple fence? I thought that was really easy. And it's going to give you that same raw wood that we used that's in the craft wood, so it goes together nicely. We're just going to leave that raw wood as well. This toilet is kind of like right next to the shower in this bathroom, so it is going to have a little bit of moisture going on. So I definitely want this to be as sturdy as possible. And then we're going to just start hot gluing our little houses to the back of that craft wood. And they don't have too much of a roof line on there to worry about the two next to each other. They just fit in there kind of like a glove. That looks super cute. Then I was thinking, I really do need to keep doing my fence all the way around. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut enough popsicle sticks just for the sides. And I'm going to go ahead and do a double amount so I can do the other side as well. And same thing, we're just going to glue them, kind of spacing them out just by eye. And I love working with popsicle sticks because they're so easy to cut. You can just cut them with some heavy-duty scissors. Okay, check this out. We got our little tray for the back of the toilet. And, I kind of thought it still kind of needed that line around it. And I didn't think you could really see it with the paint. So instead of wire, I thought that really thin twine from the Dollar Tree might work. And so I just glued that to the back and wrapped that all the way around. And I thought that was the final touch. This holds like all the things that are like normally on the back of the toilet. And I'm just kind of gluing that down in front so it kind of stays in place. But that's going to also help hold all the popsicle sticks on there. But again, I've had no problems with this falling apart at all. It's the perfect size for some toilet paper. And this is how it turned out. Isn't it super cute?
I know a lot of you guys have coastal bathrooms like I do, and this was such a fun DIY. I've had it for years on the back of my son's toilet in the like hallway bathroom. It's so coastal and fun in there, and it's held up really well. And you can always substitute the houses out and kind of paint them colors. I think that'd be really cute. Okay, for the next one, let's try a sea glass candle. So I picked up this candle holder from the Dollar Tree. Some of my stores have this in the shore living line. Some of it haven't in just like the regular candle section. But it's kind of an iridescent blue, just a very light tinted candle jar. And then I picked up some Dollar Tree sea glass. My stores really have this in stock right now, a lot. So I stocked up. What I want to do is see if I can make the sea glass shine through the outside of my DIY candle, right? Now, this comes in like a royal blue, a green, not my favorite colors, but I think combined with that beautiful blue candle that we were melting, that's going to soften it up a little bit. Now, I want it to stick to the side. So as you can see, I'm just hot gluing it to it. Most of these little sea glass pieces from the Dollar Tree have a really flat side. That's the side that I'm trying to attach. And I'm trying to kind of alternate some of the bigger pieces first, kind of alternating that dark blue and that dark green. And then I can go in and kind of fill in the other areas with the other pieces. Now, I I didn't really know if I should use like, that light blue and the clear ones. I did in the end. I don't know if you can really see them. I don't know if they will expose themselves at all while I'm burning the candle. I don't know. But I did the best I could. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put some on the bottom too. Just why not? And then I'm going to use the wick again from the other blue candle that we just melted on the stove. Add that to the bottom, cover that up with a few rocks or sea glass to weigh that down. Add a popsicle stick for my wick to keep it centered and where it should be. And this is the other like light blue candle that I melted down, and I'm just going to fill it up. Not too full, took almost the entire candle. And just try to make sure that I still have my wick where I want it to be, and I let it set up. And this is how it looks, that beautiful light blue color. Now, I would say it was kind of a success, because you can see the sea glass through, but a lot of the wax kind of went in the like little different voids of the sea glass. But I think it's still fun, that iridescent blue candle holder, that pretty blue candle, and then like sea glass like peeking out. Now, to display it, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree like flat circular candle holders that will hold the heat really nicely. And then to bring out the fact that this is a sea glass candle, let's use more of that Dollar Tree sea glass. And I am just spreading that around, trying to vary like the colors and the size, make it kind of random. But I want to fill up that entire tray to really bring out the fact that this is a sea glass candle, since you can't see the sea glass really well. You can only kind of see it a little bit, but it was still really fun to make. So there it is, our sea glass candle DIY. I was trying to use all different, items that you might find at the beach, like sea glass. And the sea glass at my Dollar Trees, they've changed the shape of it here recently, where it's not quite so chunky. It's a little bit flatter, but I really kind of like it better. Now, you weren't able to see the sea glass through the sides as much as I had wanted in this, but it was kind of a fun experimental DIY. And once I started burning it, it actually did look really cool.
Okay, next DIY, we're going to take a Dollar Tree sign. This is the one I'm using. I just wanted something with a frame that was kind of rectangular in structure. Doesn't really matter what you get because we're going to take it apart. We're going to be painting the frame and stuff. Don't need any of this stuff on there, the little line that goes across. I just need the frame. And what I want to do like a little cutout DIY for this. Wanted to do like another shark. So I wanted to get kind of creative and see what kind of items I can use. This is a Target Dollar Spot like seagrass purse that I've used for other DIYs. But if you don't have one of those, you could always use one of the little bags from the Dollar Tree like this. And this is me trying to decide which one I'm going to use. I decided to go with this one because I already had it cut and it's definitely going to be big enough. What I want to do is cover the background of our little sign with this, and then using some of the Dollar Tree removable wallpaper, I want to do kind of a cutout that exposes the seagrass behind it. Kind of a technique I'd never really tried before, but I thought maybe we could try pulling this off. I'm going to do a shark shape, but you could do any kind of sea creature. It'd be really cute. So I just cut that down to the size of the back to that picture frame. And I'm just going to hot glue that down to it. Now, I've never tried cutting the removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree with my Cricut machine. I'm trying to remember the setting. I'll have to look it up. I did record the setting that I used to cut it, and I'll put that in the description below because it did take a little trial and error to get it to cut through. Now, I also need a piece of a foam board from the Dollar Tree in the same shape. This one's black. It's all I had. So I'm just going to cut that foam board down to shape because the thickness of that wallpaper is not going to be thick enough, I think, to do what I want to do. And so I need something to attach that to. So just cutting the foam board down into a rectangle the same size of our picture that we're doing to give me, you know, like a thicker surface to cut through to do the cutout. So just making sure that's going to fit in the frame, just kind of trimming it up a little bit can be a little challenging to cut the foam board. And I go ahead and remove the hanger too because it was kind of getting in the way. Now, I don't really like the dark wood finish, so I'm going to kind of give it a driftwood vibe on here by mixing some antique wax by Waverly together with some ivory acrylic and distressing all over with chunky brush to make this a lighter, airier looking coastal sign frame. And it's okay if the wood grain shines through. It's going to kind of make it look distressed, but definitely trying to brighten it up from how it looked before. And this is that removable wallpaper from the Dollar Tree where I cut out like the shark shape in here. And this is definitely my favorite pattern. I think it's so tropical. So I thought this would make a really cool art piece. So what I'm going to do is weed the little shark out that we cut out in it. And again, I definitely had to play around with the settings to get a good cut on this because it wasn't obvious like which setting to use. And we're going to peel off the back of the wallpaper. Now we're just going to stick that directly onto the foam board that we cut out. And we're going to use that as a template to do a cutout through the foam board as well. Because again, remember I want the seagrass to kind of be behind it, but I didn't want to just lay that wallpaper directly on top of the seagrass. I wanted it to have a little bit of depth, which is why we're doing the foam board. So once I have it on there, I just use a razor blade from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to go around the shape of the shark silhouette. I kind of do the body first and worry about the fins later because it's a little tricky to cut this out. I go to the back to make sure it cut all the way through and just pop out the pieces. Then I can go back and do all of the little fins as well. And that's why it didn't really matter that my foam board was black because you really can't see it because it's white inside still, just like the other white foam board would have been. And I'm just trying to clean it up the best I can with like a little Cricut weeder to get out any little pieces. And there is our little shark cutout that we can put over the top of our seagrass background. Now I noticed you could see some of the like black paper torn here and there from the cutout. So I do go over the insides of it with just a little ivory just to brighten that up and cover up any tiny pieces of black that you might still be able to see. I don't really care if I get too much on there because I am going to go back and distress this because hello, I distress everything. I'm just using a brush kind of all over, distressing in one direction with that same ivory and wiping off the excess with a baby wipe just to give a little bit more character to that wallpaper, make it look a little bit less glossy and a little bit more artsy, if you will. Now we can lay it on top of the seagrass I think it's starting to look pretty good. It's definitely a unique piece that I just kind of had in my mind. And there is our frame that we painted to kind of look more like driftwood. Now it's just time to put it back together. So just putting our wallpaper covered foam board inside first. Making sure everything is good, and then we can put this seagrass on the back. Now this did have like the existing staples on there. I wasn't sure how good it was going to hold though, because it's kind of thick. So I do go back in there with some hot glue to secure that in place all around the edges. And I want quite a bit because I also want to be able to glue on the back of the seagrass too. And just glue that all into place. And there it is. It looks pretty cool. I want to hang mine, so I'm just going to attach a little sawtooth hanger here about halfway in the middle. And this is so lightweight that I'm just going to use hot glue to glue it on. I'm not messing with any of those little tiny screws. And it was pretty easy to make, I think. Now, I got to this point and I liked it, but I thought maybe we could add a little bit more texture to it, right? So I'm going to add just some twine. This is that thicker twine that I get at Walmart. It's a little thicker than the one from Dollar Tree, but you could probably get the same effect from that. And I thought we could do like just a little fun, like ocean wave out of twine across the bottom of this DIY, just to add a little bit more character to the piece. So I'm just gluing a very basic wave shape, and we're going to do that all the way across. Now, I think I still have the cutout file for the cricket for the shark. I will try to remember to share that in the link below as well. I have lots of files I need to include on this video for you guys to replicate some of these DIYs, but there's our little shark cutout against the seagrass.
This was a really fun, whimsical DIY. I was doing Shark Week DIYs when I put this one together. Now, if you would like that palm leaf print and can't find that at your Dollar Tree because I've discontinued that, I do have a scan of that I will include in the description of today's video that you can download for free. But check it out. I think it's really fun. Now for the next DIY, the little message in a bottle. And I thought that'd be the perfect easy solar light. I got this one. It's kind of the more turquoisey teal color one. They had different colors. I'm just going to put some sand in the bottom of it. I'm still going to do the message in the bottle. I think that's really cute. But I thought adding some sand and some of those little tiny seashells from the Dollar Tree in the bottom is going to make it look even more coastal. This is the little message in a bottle. It's perfect. It's got like a little plastic seashell on it and some twine wrapped around it. And then this is actually the solar light from Dollar General. If you'll notice, it's a lot smaller. It has an on and off switch, and these are only $1. So if you can't find any that are the right size at Dollar Tree, be sure to check Dollar General because I kind of like the smaller size for this one for a more slender bottle like this. And the on and off switch is great too if you have it where you can kind of get to that. But I'm going to hot glue mine on, kind of make it more permanent. And then I'm going to add some twine here to the neck of the bottle. I'm just going to tie that on and wrap it around just to give it another little fun little beachy touch. I wrap it around until I'm happy with it and then just glue down my loose end. And I put seashells in the bottom. There's a seashell on a little message in the bottle, but you can't have enough seashells. So let's add a few more here to the twine. I'm just going to hot glue some on here. This is just going to be a standing solar light. If you wanted to hang it, it'd be super easy to make a twine hanger and attach it to the twine that you wrapped around the neck of it. Little message in the bottle. And I think this is going to make a perfect little coastal solar light. And if you can't find this exact bottle that already has like the little message inside, it'd be really easy to create with just some brown paper or some paper stained with like a little tea bag or something like that. Scroll it up like this, tie it off with some twine, and you'll get that same look. This was just really easy because it was already put together, and I always love a fun coastal solar light DIY. And this I thought was perfect for it. For this wind chime, we are going to use some of these wood beads from the Dollar Tree that have a little seashell on there. If you don't have any of these left over from Dollar Tree, then you could always kind of attach whatever kind of charms you want there at the bottom. And one of the bamboo rings.
So I'm going to use the smaller one. I think that's going to be the perfect size for a wind chime. And I ordered a whole case of these, and I love them so much that I ordered another case of them. And I even bought some in the store because I love the pieces on these. They're so cool. I've been using them for other shore living DIYs here on my channel. I want to make a wind chime that goes around and kind of cascades. So I want it to go from short to long. I'm going to use the existing wood beads on here because why not? I'm going to cut it a little longer than I wanted though because I do need some twine to work with. And for the first set, I only included 3 beads. So 2 of the white, 1 of the natural, and I'm just tying that off to the bamboo ring. I found that I wasn't giving myself enough twine to work with on this one. I was trying to keep as many beads on the garland as I could, but I probably should have cut a little bit longer because it was a little difficult to tie some of these. So I'm using the same seashell in all of mine. Since I have a lot of them, I can totally do that. And I'm trying to remember exactly how many I used on this one. Okay, I just went and counted. I used a total of 8. Now, they don't all have to be the same one, but since I have 8 of the seashells, I thought it would be great if they matched. So I cut this one a little longer, 2 beads longer. So instead of 3 beads, this one has 5, right? And I tie that on there. I can always kind of scoot them around depending on how many I end up using. And I want it to look like a spiral going around. So I have 3 beads and then I have 5 beads on the next one. And I'm going to continue that pattern by adding 2 beads to every one. So instead of 5, we're doing 7 on this one. So again, I'm just going to snip it, trying to get better about giving myself a little bit more twine there to make it a little bit easier. And using the wood beads on this, I don't always use this many wood beads on a wind chime, but I really kind of like the way that it looked. It is really kind of elegant, but very coastal. So this one, I thought I cut it long enough and I didn't. But if you don't cut yours long enough, you can always tie some more twine on and use that to tie it off, which is what I ended up doing on that one. And I just want to continue that pattern all the way around. I think I used 8, but I think I had like maybe 10 there. I just grabbed every single one that I had that was like the seashell one. And I haven't used I think I used the seashell one on one DIY so far. If you haven't seen my other shore living videos, please come check them out. I don't know what's going on this year, but my shore living content is just not cutting it like it normally does. This is usually my busiest time of year, and I don't know if it's YouTube or Dollar Tree or what. But that is my 4th one, so we're halfway around it. And luckily the wood bead garlands were long enough to continue this pattern that I've got going on. I think adding 2 beads to each one definitely gives it enough of a height change. And I'm trying to get better about leaving more twine on there because obviously important, especially when you're going to double tie it on there. Now, the shells are made out of like a resin material that feels like ceramic. So they're kind of heavy, and I found that this wind chime was heavy, so I did have to make sure that I got everything tied on securely because I don't want them falling off. I think if they fell off in my Florida room onto the concrete, they might break because they do feel like ceramic. I'm not really sure exactly how Dollar Tree makes these, but they are beautiful. They have like a great detail on one side of the seashell. They also have starfish, sea turtles. They're so cute. I absolutely love them. And so just tying that one off and 2 longer and continuing that pattern all the way around. I'm really not going to have to do much else to it. It's going to have all of the wood beads on it. It's going to have all of the seashells.
And I like the fact that I left like the seashells, just that kind of unfinished white ceramic. I think it really kind of added to the charm. So really the only time consuming part of this was just cutting them, tying them on there. You don't have to string the beads or even tie the seashells on there. They're already on there. So now that I have them all on there, I think 8 is plenty. Now I need to make a hanger. Again, I'm going to use Dollar Tree twine. A lot of you guys have asked me where I got my twine holder. That is a yarn keeper, and those are from Dollar Tree. I tried to pick up another one. I plan to do a giveaway here soon on my channel, and I'm trying to pick up some of my favorite things like that because it makes working with Dollar Tree twine so easy, and it keeps my twine clean because my work desk can get a little crazy with, you know, drilling and sawing and stuff like that. But as you can see, I'm making the hanger. I just tied it to one end, tied it to the other end, and then crisscrossing and tying it at the top. So just like that, it's gonna kind of have an X. And then this one is a little tricky because you want to make sure that it's gonna hang level. So before you double tie it, kind of check it, make sure that everything is hanging level. If it's not, you can always kind of readjust where your knot is. But there it is, our little spiral, like cascading wind chime.
And it was a perfect use for these wood beads. I do like the fact that all of the seashells on there are the same thing. I think that kind of adds to it. The colors are really neutral. They are made out of like a ceramic, so the ceramic and wood does actually make noise too for the wind chime. But I love how this turned out. I do really, really miss the shore living line at Dollar Tree because like the last year they had it, they had some really cool wood beads like this. And they had really cool like little ceramic items like that at the end. And I'm sure you could probably find something equivalent, and you can always use the wood bead garlands from the Dollar Tree or like the loose wood beads to string your own wind chime. For this DIY, we're going to use one of the burlap canvases in the 8x10. If you can't find those, you can always DIY it with some burlap on there. The burlap is key. And I found a little sailboat from the Dollar Tree that I'm going to add to the front of it. That's just like a little wood wall charm. We're also going to be using an 8x10 photo frame. It doesn't really matter which one you get because we are going to paint it for this DIY.
Anytime you do burlap with like white on it, I love that for a coastal feel. So I just take apart the frame, pop out the glass. We're definitely not going to need that for this. I want the bumpy texture of the burlap. And I love that there are standard sizes to go in picture frames. So I just mixed Caribbean blue and white together to give me a very light beachy blue. And I'm just going over this gray frame all over to make a coastal frame for it. Anytime I can frame like a canvas, I always like it better. I'm a big fan of these new burlap canvases. One of my last videos, I crafted with the 5x7 one, the small ones. I have a bunch of those as well, but I was really excited to find the 8x10s. So I'm also going to go around the edges. This doesn't really have an inside lip on the frame, so it's super easy to paint. I'm okay if a little bit of the gray shows through because it'll add to the distress a little bit, but I do really want it to be nice and blue, so I do go over the front of it with another coat. Now I want to distress it to make it look, you know, coastal farmhouse. So I take a little white and a chunky brush, and we're going to do a very light distress all over just to kind of break up some of the blue. Give it that coastal farmhouse charm. Super easy to paint. Definitely, I picked up some more of these frames today because I'm sure I'm going to need them for all of those burlap canvases that I bought. So here is the 8x10 burlap canvas. I like these so much better than the regular canvases because I hardly ever use those for anything. But burlap is right up my alley. So it fits in there perfectly. I'm going to try it on to see if it fits. Just trying to make sure that the paint was dry. I didn't want to mess anything up. Now, I didn't really take the staples out of this.
Um, but you totally could if you wanted to get them out of the way. They weren't really in the way for me, so I just kind of left them in there, just standing straight up. But the burlap isn't going to stay in there, so I just do a small bead of hot glue all around the inside, the edges where the glass would normally sit. And just pop our little burlap frame in there. I said they were in my way, and then the staples were like a little bit in my way. You might want to pop them out. It might make your job a little bit easier. But super lightweight, the burlap frame and this frame. So I don't think that's going to be very heavy at all. And then I wanted to attach a little wall charm. These are so cute. This is the white sailboat one. They also have like, I think the seashell one I've crafted with. I love them. I don't really need the tassel and all the wood beads though. So I'm just going to use some pliers and pop that off. And it's just going to leave me with a really cute white sailboat that's like lightly distressed with like a little bit of wood showing through. So I thought that'd be really cute displayed against the burlap. Very simple, just like a silhouette, right? And so I'm going to use hot glue to glue that on to the burlap. Kind of centering it right in between. I think that looks really good. I was thinking about you could put the back on it if you wanted it to stand up. You might want to paint it first though before you put it on there because it might be a little bit dark. But I decided just to use one of those sawtooth hangers that I have left over from the canvases and just put that in the back of the actual canvas. And I can just use that to hang it. It can be all open in the back like that. And this is how it turned out.
Now you can find like little coastal shapes like this little sailboat charm just wherever you like to shop, especially in the summertime. They like to have like coastal signs like this and shapes. You can always take it off of something too, like a wind chime or something like that. But it was just really quick and simple for this DIY. And I love the burlap with the blue and the sailboat. For this one, we're just going to use one of the rounded top signs. It doesn't really matter which sign you get. Those are from Dollar Tree. And then one of the metal shell signs. Now, the metal signs from the Dollar Tree were short-living, but I don't think they really sold out because I still find them at my Dollar Tree even now. And the shell is definitely one that I can still usually find.
But I am just actually going to redo it completely and kind of make it my own. And I always like to work on the back of the Dollar Tree projects because it kind of gives you like a blank canvas to kind of start off with. So all I did was just remove the tag on the back there. And then we're going to kind of tape off this little bottom section here. And I'm going to show you how I kind of combine these two items together to make a really cute little beach decoration. So the first thing we're going to do is paint this. I am actually mixing two colors together. This is like Caribbean blue and ivory mixed together. And it's going to give me that really soft beachy blue, which is kind of what I'm going for with this project. Right here on the top. Now here is the little galvanized metal shell. I never know quite what to do with these things because they're usually like a hanging item and sometimes you don't want them to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to cover up the little holes there in the metal part of the shell with just some masking tape. I thought that might work a little bit better than trying to spackle like that thin metal. I don't think that would work at all. So we're going to give that a go. And I want to use a chalk paint because I want really good coverage. So I'm just using some ivory chalk paint and going all over. I also kind of wanted like a thicker paint like this to give me a little bit of texture because again, we're trying to cover up like the masking tape that we use to cover the holes. And you know, we want to give it texture because the seashell is going to definitely have texture more so than just the lines in there. And so we're going to paint that all over, basically painting it the same color as my mat. So it's a little hard to see there. Sorry about that. Give it a quick dry, and I'm going to go over it with just a little bit more. You can paint this galvanized metal. It's usually not my first idea, but I think it made it look a lot better than it would have looked if I would have left it like that metal color. Now I want to spell out my own word on here. And so I'm going to use some of these little galvanized metal letters from the Dollar Tree to spell it out. They're just the right size. Now you have to be careful when you buy these at the Crafter Square at Dollar Spot because you're only getting half the alphabet when you do the metal. So I just am going to spell out the word beach. And I kind of want to do the same thing that I did on the metal shell. So just painting them all over with ivory chalk paint. And so we have like that wood base that's really pretty on that sign and the light blue sign and then our little metal seashell and our letters painted ivory. I do want them to look a little distressed though. So just going over everything with Antique Wax by Waverly. And it gives me that cool texture and color that you would see like on a real seashell. Now, I've done this technique on a plastic shore living dish as well, and that's really going to give you the texture to make it look real. This one doesn't look, it doesn't really look like a real shell, but it looks cool. And I'm going to go ahead and distress the letters as well. If you ever feel like you distress too much, you can go back a little bit with your original color, which mine was ivory, distress it a little more to brighten it up. So we have our little blue sign. I'm going to kind of try to find the center just so I can center my center letter. That's going to help me a little bit with spacing. And I'm just going to attach those to that base with glue. I like that wood grain. I think that looks really nice and beachy already. So we're just going to glue our letters on here. You could spell out whatever you want. Using this size letter, though, you're not going to have a lot of room for a very big word. And if you wanted, you could use, like, the other side did have, like, a beachy saying on it as well. I wanted mine to be a little bit simpler with just the word beach. So that looks pretty good. Now I think we can just put this thing together. So I'm just going to use hot glue to attach the little metal shell to the sign.
And I do kind of have a love-hate relationship with hot glue and galvanized metal. Sometimes it holds up pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't. This one actually did. I added more hot glue to the back and just used some of the Dollar Tree wood dominoes to kind of fill in that area. You could also use like a little Jenga block or something like that. But I thought this was a really fun way to DIY with one of the metal shells if you can still find them at your store. Painting it just gives it a completely different vibe, and I always struggle with figuring out how to exactly DIY those. You could also decoupage onto them as well. That would be pretty.
Okay, this one I wanted to go bigger. So this is one of those large jars from the Dollar Tree. And then this isn't a solar light. This is a battery operated light, but it's also from Dollar Tree. It's got a little on-off switch on it, and it's got a little light bulb inside that's filled with like little string lights all wound around, but it's the perfect size for this large jar. So I thought we could do kind of a beach scene with the fairy garden stuff, but do it on a larger scale. So I love all the beach items they have for Fairy Garden this year. They have this little lounger beach chair and a little beach arrow sign. And I'm going to use those. Also, that little sand bucket over there and that little shorebird. And I'm just going to be attaching these with hot glue to the bottom of the jar just to make sure they stay in place. Kind of scattering these all over. So we're going to do like a really fun beach scene, but light it all up with that Dollar Tree light. I thought the little sand bucket goes well with those items. And then I had a little bit of room left, so I do the shorebird as well. There's so many cute ones. I try to only buy one of each. I think I might have got a couple of the sea turtle one though, because I love it. And just make sure those are all secure. Now, once I get those hot glued down, I'm going to go in like I did on the sea turtle, and we're going to fill in the bottom of the jar with Dollar Tree sand to make it look like a little beach scene. So just sprinkle enough in there to kind of cover the bottom, but not really cover any of the cute decor. That's what it looks like so far. Super cute, super beachy, I think. And this jar is really nice. I've used the smaller ones before, but I've never seen it in this large size. But look how perfectly the little battery operated light like fits on top of that wide jar. I think that's gonna work perfectly. So I'm just going to attach it with hot glue. The on-off switch is on the top of it, so you should still be able to turn it on and off. You should also be able to still change batteries if you wanted to. And it's also got the little metal hanging hook on there so that you can hang this as well. Now, I did kind of want to like cover up the edges of the jar where you could screw the lid on and kind of cover up that light to make it look a little bit more coastal. So I just cut down 2 pieces of that white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And we're just going to go all the way around with those to cover up the little screw ridges that were there on the side of the jar and give it a coastal feel. I kind of wanted to see what it would look like using a different kind of Dollar Tree rope. So we're going with the white one for this one. And it did kind of give a different vibe to this. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover this as well, just to kind of continue that rope theme. And just going around and around with this one until all of it's covered except for the very, very top. And make sure you don't burn yourself. I think I burnt myself on this one. It hurts so bad. That hot glue gun, I love it, but man, it is incredibly hot. So that looks pretty good. And I can't really show you too well because all the sand kind of dumps to one side, but let me show you what this looks like.
The advantage of this DIY over the solar lights is that you can put it on your porch even if your porch doesn't get any light, or you could even use it indoors. Because it's battery operated, you can turn it on and off. Whenever I can find little coastal fairy garden items like that from the Dollar Tree, I always try to grab them. Sometimes I'm even lucky enough to find them at Target dollar spots sometimes, but I always keep an eye out for anything coastal. I really hope you enjoyed these 20 Dollar Tree beach DIYs today. I tried to include a big variety of coastal beach DIYs for summer and things that you could create with supplies from the Dollar Tree. Let me know your favorite DIY in the comments below, or just come say hello. This is my QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. Seven years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of today's beach coastal crafting marathon. I also want to thank my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much too, in the order that they've been members: Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Renee Albanese, Pal Puppy Life, Ginny, Debbie Austin, Lizette Thomas, Amy Branham, Mary Renzel Park, and Leanna Thomas. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to become a member, we would be glad to have you. It's $4.99 a month. You're free to cancel at any time. Don't forget to like today's video and subscribe if you haven't. And if you want more Beach Dollar Tree DIYs, be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!